Can Yaman was no stranger to the dazzling glare of the spotlight. From his earliest roles to the international fame that followed, the Turkish actor and model had learned to carry the world's eyes on his shoulders with a practiced ease. But behind the confident smile, the sharp jawline, and the undeniable charisma, there was a man wrestling with something far heavier, the unspoken pain of a love strained by fame, distance, and silence. Their story had been written across billboards, tabloid headlines, and endless fan theories. Can Yaman and Demet Özdemir, two of the brightest stars of Turkish television, whose on-screen chemistry had sparked a real-life romance that the world watched with bated breath. But what the cameras didn't catch was the fracture lines beneath that shining surface. It was a love story that everyone believed was perfect, until it wasn't. It all started like a dream. Two young actors, thrown together by fate on the set of a hit series, sharing laughs, stolen glances, and a connection electric enough to light up every scene. Can, with his intense gaze and magnetic presence, and Demet, radiant and vivacious, became not just co-stars but partners, in work, in life, and in the public eye. Their relationship was a media sensation from the start. Fans celebrated every moment, dissecting every photo, every interview for clues. Yet for Can and Demet, the lines between public and private blurred in dangerous ways. Their love became a story told by others, scrutinized from every angle, and weighed against impossible expectations. For a while, the world seemed to be watching their happiness unfold in real time. Romantic dinners, holiday getaways, whispered promises shared behind closed doors, all played out under the unyielding gaze of the cameras. But the pressure was immense. And it was only a matter of time before the cracks started to show. Behind the scenes, things began to shift. The demands of Can's rising career pulled him in multiple directions: international shoots, endorsement deals, and a growing fanbase that expected more than ever. Demet, equally ambitious and beloved, faced her own challenges balancing work and the ever-watchful eyes of the media. Slowly, the space between them grew. Not always physical, sometimes it was the cold distance in a glance, the unspoken tension in a text message left unread. Moments that once held laughter now felt heavy with unsaid words. The cameras caught glimpses, brief appearances together, forced smiles at public events, and more often, separate paths in interviews and social media. Fans speculated endlessly, rumors spun like wildfire. Were they fighting? Were they on a break? Had the pressures of fame finally cracked the foundation of their love? Can felt it deeply. The loneliness wrapped around him like a second skin, suffocating and relentless. He longed to reach out, to break the silence that had become their new language, but pride and fear held him back. That night was supposed to be ordinary. But it wasn't. Can sat alone in his dimly lit apartment, the city's skyline a glittering reminder of a world that never stopped moving, while inside, time seemed frozen. He stared at his phone, the screen dark and empty. No messages. No calls. Just silence. His mind raced through every conversation, every moment with Demet in recent weeks. The cold goodbyes, the missed calls, the words left hanging in the air. He tried to push the pain away, focusing on work, on plans, on anything that might distract him. But the ache was relentless. Suddenly, the doorbell rang. His heart jumped. He wasn't expecting anyone. Yet there she was. Demet. Standing at his doorstep, wrapped in a coat, hair slightly damp from the rain outside. Her eyes searching his, filled with a mix of hesitation, pain, and something deeper, regret. They looked at each other. No words came. Can stepped aside, letting her in. The door closed softly behind her, sealing them in a moment thick with everything left unsaid. She didn't speak. He didn't speak. But the silence was deafening. They sat across from each other, the distance between them filled with memories, laughter shared, promises made, tears hidden. Can's eyes welled up. For the first time in a long time, he let his guard down. The man who faced thousands with confidence was breaking inside. Demet reached out, but her hand hovered, unsure. Finally, a whisper, "I didn't know how to say it." Ken looked at her, voice cracking. I needed you to say something. Anything. Her tears spilled, unspoken apologies hanging in the air. That night wasn't about blame. It was about the unbearable weight of silence, the heartbreak of two people who loved deeply but couldn't find the words. As dawn crept in, Demet left silently. Ken watched her go, the echo of her presence lingering like a ghost. He sat alone, the city waking outside, but inside, only emptiness. He whispered to himself, I should have held her. I should have fought harder. The silence remained. And with it, the weight of what could have been. The night had settled into a thick blanket of silence after Demet stepped inside. Neither of them spoke, yet their shared silence was loud, filled with everything they hadn't dared to say for months. The room, dimly lit and heavy with memories, seemed to shrink with every passing second. Can's eyes searched Demet's face, the same face that had once made his world bright, now shadowed by pain and uncertainty. He could see the tears threatening to spill, the hesitation lingering behind her steady gaze. She sat down carefully on the couch, as if afraid to disturb the fragile space between them. Her hands rested loosely in her lap, fingers entwined, a small gesture betraying the storm inside. Ken sat opposite her, his body tense, heart pounding in a rhythm he could no longer control. The powerful actor, known for his confidence and charm, felt exposed, vulnerable in a way that cameras never showed. Why didn't you say anything? His voice was barely a whisper. Demet swallowed hard. Because I was scared. Scared that if I opened my mouth, everything would fall apart. Her honesty was a dagger wrapped in silk. It cut deep but held a tenderness that only love could inspire. They had built walls of silence around their hearts, hoping to protect themselves but only isolating each other further. The weight of unspoken fears and unmet needs crushed them. Ken leaned forward, his voice trembling. I was drowning in silence, Demet. I needed you to fight for us. She shook her head slowly. I was fighting, but in my own way. Sometimes silence feels like the only weapon left. Tears rolled down her cheeks now. Ken reached out, gently wiping them away. The simple touch was a lifeline amid the wreckage. Their shared pain was undeniable. Two souls trapped in a painful dance, desperate to reconnect but crippled by fear and misunderstanding. As the night deepened, memories surfaced, moments of joy, tenderness, and hope that now felt like distant dreams. Ken remembered the first time he saw Demet smile just for him, the way her laughter lit up the set during long shoots, and the quiet moments when they would talk about their dreams away from the cameras. But also the arguments, the harsh words spoken in frustration, the nights spent apart, and the relentless pressure of living a life constantly under the public eye. Each memory was a thread in the tapestry of their love, beautiful yet fragile. Hours passed with little more than heavy breathing and occasional glances. The silence was a battleground. Finally, Demet stood, voice cracking. I can't do this anymore, Can. He nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. Neither can I. They knew what was coming. The inevitable goodbye that neither wanted but both feared was necessary. No dramatic shouting matches, no blaming, just a quiet acceptance of a love that had been suffocated by silence. Demet's coat was on again. Her hand on the door. Can's voice broke the quiet, please don't go. She paused, eyes meeting his one last time. I have to. And with that, she left. Can sat alone in the empty apartment, the pale light of dawn slowly creeping through the windows, casting long shadows across the room that now felt unbearably vast and cold. The air was thick with her absence, a presence so strong it lingered even though she was gone. He could still catch the faint trace of her perfume, that delicate scent that once brought comfort but now twisted in his chest like a cruel reminder. The empty space where she had sat moments ago seemed to mock him, hollow and untouched, as if waiting for her to return, but he knew she wouldn't. His eyes drifted around the room, searching for any sign, any memory etched into the fabric of their shared past. The couch still held the imprint of her weight, the faint warmth faded but not forgotten. The silence in the room was suffocating, a heavy blanket wrapping around him, pressing deeper with every breath he took. His mind replayed the night in endless loops, every glance exchanged, every breath held, every painful silence that spoke louder than words ever could. The unspoken apologies, the love that tried desperately to survive amid the cracks, and the tears that were never shed aloud but lived in the depths of their souls. He closed his eyes, feeling the sting behind his eyelids, the ache that no smile or public appearance could ever hide. The loneliness was not just the absence of her body beside him, it was the shattering of something once whole, now broken into fragments scattered across a cold, indifferent world. His fingers clenched into fists on his lap, trembling with the weight of regret and longing. He whispered into the stillness, voice barely audible, she was there, but didn't say a word. The silence answered back, heavy and unyielding, wrapping around him like a prison. It was the kind of silence that echoes endlessly, reminding you of what was lost, what could have been saved, and what words were left unsaid. That silence carried the weight of 1,000 what-ifs. What if he had reached out sooner? What if she had stayed just a little longer? What if they had dared to break the walls that separated them? And in that quiet, empty room, Can understood something painful but undeniable. Sometimes love isn't enough to bridge the silence between two hearts. Sometimes being there isn't the same as truly being present. And sometimes, the loudest screams are the ones that never make a sound.